Good afternoon and welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. I am so excited to be in the studio today with a friend, Rick Farwell. And let me just say, Rick is an entrepreneur of all entrepreneurs. He just opened a new establishment in Raleigh where he grew up. Double R Wine, Spirits, and More. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that with Rick. And we're also just going to talk about just being an entrepreneur because there are a lot of people out there that are contemplating, thinking about opening a business and just don't know what to do. But Rick and I will have that conversation because we're both business owners. And if you're looking on my table trying to figure out what's going on, this is the latest edition of the new Tri-State Defender. So if you've not picked one up, if you've not subscribed to it, make sure you do. It is the African-American voice for the community in terms of any kind of unique story that you want to read about. You can read about it online or make sure you get a print copy. Rick Farwell, welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Yay. So I have known Rick for a while, and he's just a class act, but he's a serious entrepreneur. So, Rick, where did you get that entrepreneur spirit from?
I'm actually second generation. My father had a liquor store, and I grew up. My father got the liquor store when I was in the fifth grade, so I kind of grew up around the business, learning it. When I went to college, came back to college, I decided to let's get another one. My dad had one on Watkins, and the next one that we got into, I had a little money to invest, and we got into it together. And it's kind of been a passion project for 35 years now.
35 years?
Yeah.
That's
in
amazing.
95.
That's when you opened your first?
That's when I got into it with my dad.
Partner with your dad?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you just a little history about me. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs too. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather's first business and grandmother's first business was a liquor store in Chicago. And then, they called it a tavern back then, but it was a club.
Right, okay.
Right next to the liquor store. But they also owned a real estate business. So, so I guess I'm a second generation entrepreneur too.
Right.
And so how does that make you feel? I mean, you saw your dad doing it when you were growing up. And did you always think it was something you wanted to do?
I did. And funny you say that as we go back in family, because, we got a little bit more history than just professionally. We grew up in the same church.
Yes.
And you remember and you remember the Farwells. All of my uncles had businesses.
Really?
So I'm talking about a kid from 6, 7 years old growing up. All of my uncles had businesses. My one uncle had a laundromat. Another uncle was a TV repairman. My father worked for the post office before he got into the liquor store business. And it was just that my grandmother owned a daycare, one of the first black-owned daycares.
Was that
city.
Mrs. Farwell?
Mm-hmm.
Elnora? Oh, my goodness.
Mrs. Elnora. So it was, I think it was in my blood because during that time, that's all I'm looking at is older people in my family, people I look up to that are their own bosses. They really don't work for anybody. They're entrepreneurs. So I just came into it naturally. I always wanted to. When I got out in corporate America and had a job, I said, well, this is not it for me, but I'm going to save my money. I'm going to do what my dad did. And you say real estate. My dad had a bunch of real estate properties. So did my grandmother. So that was the thing. I said, okay, it's all. I used to ride with my grandfather, go around and pick up rent.
Yes.
I was like, this is crazy. So it's all I was around, and later did it with my father as well. So I always wanted to have my own business. Didn't know it would be a liquor store, but that was the closest thing to me because that was Dad. He brought me in. He taught me the business. I was getting out of school in the afternoon and going down there and helping them close at night. So it was kind of a thing, and it just fell in my lap that I'd have a passion for it.
Well, it's funny. I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My brother Chip, I'm the oldest. He's the second child. So he's always had, he's a mechanic by trade and a welder. So he always had that side hustle that he was doing. But I think when I hit 39, Rick, and I was working for Alsac St. Jude at the time, and I thought, I can open my own agency and just see what happens. 20 years in now.
Right. Right.
So, and I thought about it. I said, you know, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. If they could do it, I could do it too. So, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And do you love it?
I do. I do. I love the freedom. There's a lot to like and a lot to dislike.
Yeah.
I dislike wearing all the hats, but
Right.
but it's part of it. I believe it's just part of it. It's something that if I didn't learn or know every aspect of my business, how could I ever get to a point where I can pay somebody to do that? I was my own accountant for a long time. I was my own tax person. So I said, okay, now that I understand this, I can hire someone to do this and hire somebody to do that. So yeah, you learn every aspect of it. Like I said, it's not all fun and games, but again, you have to learn.
You do, and it's different from when your dad owned the business.
Right.
You know, the challenges are different. You have to market a different way. So it is different from, you know, that time. And like you said, when I started, the only person I hired was an attorney to look at my contract. But outside of that, you know, I had to figure out QuickBooks.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know,
Trying
and
out
so,
all the different software to try to keep your books together.
oh
Yeah, it was
my
nuts.
goodness!
That was
And
nuts.
so, did you start out with a business plan?
This is the third store in. I did with this one.
Okay.
The first store, okay, going back to when I was in college, my dad's first store was Rick's Liquors, named after me. That paid for college. When I got out of college, me and him bought Pyramid Liquors.
Okay.
So my dad had real estate. I worked for Nike and I worked for Baxter Healthcare, and I put some money up in 401k. So I had a little stuff, something, very little, y'all, to bring to the table. Dad had the bulk of it, and I just wanted to see my dad back in business because he was just doing, pretty much nothing. So he sold a couple of his houses. He put the money up. I put my little money up, and we bought Pyramid, which was on 2nd Street at the time. No business plan. My daddy knew the business. He trained me. This time I had a little skin in the game, so I was a little bit more active in it. I dealt with the sales reps. I dealt with the tax people. I kind of screened things. And at that time, Dad was getting up in age. Yeah. So it was a lot that he really couldn't do. So he needed that college-paid education to kind
of course he did.
get through the difficult times and explain to him what he couldn't understand. So we did that store for 12 years. And eminent domain, of course. Took it, if you guys don't know, and moved us downtown where we were. Still no business plan. I just ended up in the right place, the right time. Met some very pivotal people that helped me transition from a little bulletproof store to downtown, the biggest store downtown. Mm-hmm. So still no business plan. So I got to a point when I sold it. But this next one, I had to do some market research coming from one end of town to the next.
Right.
I had to do some research into the laws that changed since I retired for 2.5 years and getting back into it. And I had to deal with a little bit more funding because I was starting from the ground up.
Right.
All the other stores were like, okay, we had this in the family. Eminent Domain gave us this big check, so we went and moved in the other one, so financing wasn't a problem. This one was like, okay, this is what I have left from selling my business before. This is what I need.
So this is like a real startup.
Yeah, this is a real start. The first real startup.
For you.
It wasn't Dad's money. It wasn't, concessions from, anything else. It was all just real startup. And doing the market research and kind of looking to see the income in the area, looking at the traffic flow, looking at this. That stuff excited me because, again, I learned it in school. Yeah. So I was like, this time I really get to apply kind of everything that I've learned through the years. And it was a passion project for me because, again, I was discovering everything from zero. I had to see it, believe in it, really get in there and be a part of everything about it until it came to fruition.
So, Rick, what made you decide I want to go back to the neighborhood that I grew up in and open your store? I know the traffic pattern is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, the real story, when I was in the store downtown, things were going great. I stay in Bartlett. Mm-hmm. I went from Frazier, stayed in North Memphis. First house I bought, second house I bought, third. I stayed in that area. I didn't ever move to East Memphis, Carville, anything like that. So I stayed in that area, and I saw the way Raleigh Frazier kind of went down, and people started moving away. The crime became bad, and then I saw the resurgence, and I said, okay, something's happening out here. They tore down the mall. They've sold off all the land around here. Alston P. Highway 14 is still a very busy street. Second busiest street in the city behind Poplar Avenue. Do your research. It's a very busy street in terms of car traffic. And it serves different areas to the north. Millington, Bolton, Tipton County, Arlington, all that, Bartlett. So I was on my way to work one morning, and I saw them building something around the corner of Alston P. and Yale. It was a Starbucks.
That's right. You know there's a Starbucks there.
Right. And I remember coming to tell my wife, I said, look, Starbucks don't make no mistakes, baby. They're moving to, something's happening. They understand the traffic flow, number one. And they understand that something's happening around there that we don't see yet, but something's happening. Then I saw the mall go down and the library get built and the civic center. The police thing and the little land, the pond or whatever, the water feature there. So a lot of stuff started coming in. Bojangles coming in. I said, okay. So at the time I was like, okay, I got my hands full. I got one store. It's not, can't do two, but I'd love to be somewhere on that corridor because of the traffic flow, because of they're investing money over there. So a lot of private and public funds are going into that area. And fast forward 2 years, somebody came along, offered me a price for my store I couldn't turn down. Sat down for a minute at home, post-pandemic, gained a bunch of pounds and got tired of sitting at home. Got tired of sitting at home and talked to my family about it. Said, I saw that spot. I thought of what was happening in that area. Now that I've sat out of the business 2 years, it's still growing. Things are still happening in that area. Let me start looking at real estate. Let me looking at leasing or buying or purchasing something in that area. Of course, purchasing at the time was ridiculous because all the land was tied up in whatever the city or the state was going. They was trying to sell it off and sell the land off, this and other. And I talked to the people that managed the property where I'm at, and they were interested. And we started negotiating. I started getting things together, and that's how I started to, decided to go there. And the area meant something to me. I grew up over there. I mean, I tell people all the time when they ask me, I say, I learned to swim 100 feet that way in that community center. Right. I was a lifeguard in that community center. My first date was at Raleigh Mall. My movie theater every Friday night was in the mall or the one up the street. My family shopped at the grocery store right there. The Cecil's on the corner. So I have to date myself really calling things out from that corner because that corner was very vibrant. It was very much an integral part of Raleigh and Fraser. It was what it was, Pizza Hut. We used to go to Pizza Hut after football games on Friday night, right down the street from me. It's not a Pizza Hut anymore. It's a used car lot. But again, that area meant a lot to me. Bringing something back there, to me, a quality shopping experience there just meant a lot. And people would ask me, well, why you built such a nice store? I said, well, why wouldn't I?
Right.
I do the same thing downtown as I did here. Yeah, the household income isn't the same, but the people are.
And they deserve something.
And they deserve something like that. It's all the stores out here are just if I can say it, somebody that's not our color. Right. Let's put a store somewhere, care nothing about ambiance, care nothing about shopping experience. They just want to put it there. And it's just a watering hole. And people flock there. They come and we spend our money. I said, why not make a nicer store when you can walk in and be really impressed and be proud? Right. And it's someone that's the same color as you behind the counter. Exactly. So that was the whole thing. And again, like I said, I love Raleigh. I love Fraser. I didn't move far. Like I said, I get home from my store in 6 minutes. I love that. So I can go home, take a nap, and come back to work. So
Rick, but think about from a competition standpoint. You did your market research as a part of your business plan, but there's so many stores, liquor stores like yours. But yours it's very nice. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you wanted people to have an experience, and when you walk in, you actually feel that. I mean, right. The way you've set everything up, the whole ambiance, because I've been to the grand opening, and let me just say it was phenomenal. And so what made you decide? I mean, did you look to see how many were in the neighborhood already? Yeah. And scope them out? Mm-hmm. And you got to scope out your competition.
Right. That was part of that year of research that I did. I looked at the stores in the area. There were 3 stores that were really competition. If I make that number 5, I count the grocery stores. Grocery stores can sell wine.
Now they can, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I took a look at the stores in the area. The one immediately from me was a Bulletproof store. If y'all know what Bulletproof store is, it's behind glass. Right. No experience at all, just someone waiting on you. The next store was about 1.8 2.3 miles away, and that was Cedar Grove. It was a nicer shopping experience, but he was off the road. You didn't know he was there. He was kind of hidden off of Covington Pike.
Okay.
And the other one is the store that's been there forever, even when I was in high school, was Spirits Unlimited. It's across from Marshall's, if I can give you an idea on Covington Pike. And the store's like this big, and you get claustrophobic in there because it's everything in there is just right in your face, and you can't find nothing. Nothing's organized. Hey, where are the Chardonnays? You got one over here and one over there and one over there. So it's like, okay, the shopping experience they didn't invest in. But these people have been serving this neighborhood for so long.
Right.
So if people in the Raleigh and Fraser area want to go to a quality shopping experience, what do they know, Buster's?
Right.
What do they know? Something in East Memphis, Midtown.
And Buster's Midtown.
Yeah.
Joe's.
So and they have to travel all over there, and just that was my pitch. That was my heart to do that. I said, okay, I'm going to give them a, not to reference Buster's in this sense, but yeah, I'm going to give them a Buster's in the hood.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a good shopping experience, a wide open shopping experience, an open, friendly shopping experience right here where you are, so you don't have to go anywhere. And I just prayed that everybody would get that. I said, okay, I hope they understand that, okay, this is not your run-of-the-mill store, or it's a liquor store.
Right.
The first thing you think you're going to walk in, you're going to see like any other liquor store. And then you walk in the door, it's like, whoa, okay, this is nice. And again, people, that was the reception I got from people. And it just felt so good. All makes me cry. It's like, y'all got it. I wanted y'all to understand that.
Right.
So y'all deserve this.
Right.
Why not? Would I ask everybody? So why you move back? Why not? I'm from this neighborhood.
Right.
Aren't you scared? I'd be scared anywhere.
And don't you want your people to have a good experience?
Exactly.
That's important.
They see the fact that it's a great shopping experience, and they see that I'm the same color as they are. That's a big thing for them too. They say, oh,
not foreign to the neighborhood.
This black owned too. Oh, I ain't never going back to Buster's. I ain't never, no shame on Buster's or any other store in the city.
No.
It's just, why should I have to stay in Raleigh and travel 20 minutes for an open, pleasant shopping experience?
Right.
And there's 4 or 5 of them right there in your neighborhood. Right. People are bypassing those stores to go get a better experience because that's what's been put there for them. It's not like these stores are that old. These stores have been open for the last 10, 12, 15 years. No one that owns those stores thinks about making it a better experience. They're just like, here's a liquor.
And what I love about your store and what you offer is the diversity of the products. For example, we've both been involved in Vintage 901, the wine, music, and food festival. Stephanie Ferreira, she's amazing. And so I've learned about African American wine. What do they call, Rick? Wine producers?
Yeah,
wine producers. And African American liquor producers. You're gonna have to educate me with my language.
You're right on. It's producers.
It's amazing because I had never heard of. I think, and I'm gonna let people know, the minority leader Karen Camper was the first one to introduce me to Uncle Nearest. Now, Jack Daniels, my husband, introduced me to Jack.
Right.
But Karen, shared with me, and when she shared the story, I thought, black folk,
mind-blowing. The story is mind-blowing.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And then getting a taste of the McBride sisters, rosé at Vintage 901. And I think I went, when you had your store on Pyramid, I said, okay, I need to order a box of this because I just fell in love with it.
Right.
And so just having that education is so important.
Right. A lot of people, for whatever reason, their exposure, whatever, just do not know that there are black-owned brands out here, black-owned producers out here. Not people that just endorse, not the Puff Daddies of the world and Ciroc. They endorse it. But I think he does own a piece of it. But people that start with, okay, this is just me. I'm not a celebrity. I want to start a bourbon. I want to start a wine, this, that, and the third. So it's not on the forefront for people for us to know that. When you go in Buster's, it's not up in your face. Excuse me, I keep saying Buster's. When you go in the other store, it's not up in your face. And but for me, I take pride in it. I say, okay, I take pride in carrying stuff that's carried by African American people. And I tell people, I say, look, you're buying this. Try this. It's owned by a black guy. And he's local. I got a couple of local bourbons from African American guys. I said, try this, give this stuff a try. All these wines out here that people are endorsing, that people are making, why not? We just get tunnel vision on the same thing that you come in and say, okay, I come in for Jack, I come in for Absolute. I say, okay, well, here's a vodka that's made by somebody black. Here's a bourbon that's made by somebody black. You want wine? We got several wines made by black people. Expand your horizons, expand your expectations, because you're coming in to spend money. Why not spend it with us?
And I have to say that before my experience with vintage, I was that person. Mm-hmm. There was a certain rosé that I liked, and when my husband went to, the liquor store in Midtown, I would say he knew what to get me.
Right.
But expanding your horizon is so important. And we're not talking about people becoming alcoholics. We're talking about there's something to be said about a good Merlot or a good, glass of wine or something with a meal.
Right.
And African Americans need to have that experience.
Exactly. They're out there. You have to lead people to them.
Yes.
You're not going to stumble over them when you walk in your local store.
Right.
You're going to have to ask. And again, it's not new.
Right.
They've been making wine. Black people have been making wine for a long time. Uncle Nearest was making it before it even marketed in Tennessee. He was marketing in L.A. She was marketing in L.A.
Really?
Yeah. She started in L.A. Tennessee was number 2.
I'd see that I didn't know.
Yeah,
and now she has.
Fawn has done. Fawn Weaver.
Fawn Weaver has blown up. I've read so many articles about her and what's going on.
Yes.
It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and from humble beginnings. I remember, the true story. I was fortunate enough to be one of the first retailers, me and some more people from Tennessee, to tour the facility before it opened and actually meet Fawn and have dinner with her. And just the story that how, she found that brand, and everybody in that town was hush-hush about it. Nobody wanted to say, okay, it's a black guy that actually founded this stuff. Jack don't want you to know that. And she went to fight with Jack, and Jack finally, backed off and gave her lane. And she took it and ran with it.
My goodness.
It's crazy because Jack didn't want that story out there. But she spearheaded and got some people, I think Oprah and some other celebrities behind her, and she took off.
That's amazing.
But that's just one brand. There's many other brands and many other stories out there. You just got to expand your, what you're looking for.
And so Rick, at Double R, I know, you just recently opened it, but what you also do is an education piece, because you bring people in, you have events, at your store to try and broaden folks' horizons on different, drinks.
Right.
So talk to me about what that experience has been like over the years and what you anticipate doing with your new location.
The experience has been great. It's because us as consumers, we're visual.
Yes.
Right. This is the first thing that catches our eye. It can have a nice label. It can have a nice story. It can have a person behind it. Doesn't necessarily make it good. We just think it's good because it's all visual, it's all ocular. Until you actually get to what's involved in making it and you actually taste a better one, I love that. I love the look on people's faces like, I thought I was drinking something good. Yeah. Again, you're captured by marketing. When you flip through the pages, when you scroll through your social media, these ads catch you.
Right.
And you think, oh, that's good because he's drinking it. That's good. I love to just tell people the story. So, okay, this is what you're drinking. People that don't take a lot of care and concern on what they're doing, they're after shareholders' interest. They're trying to move cases and move volumes and this, that, and the other. It's not quality.
Right.
And then I bring them behind with something they never heard of, never seen, and they try it and they see the difference. It's like, wow, so that's a real winemaker, and this is somebody that's trying to make money.
Right.
And they go out and get a celebrity to endorse it. So that's fulfilling for me. That blows my mind because again, that's the typical consumer. I was that consumer.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for Sutter Home because I see it everywhere.
That's what I see everywhere. You see it in the grocery store.
Right.
You see it,
but you see how much actually wine is in Sutter Home versus additives.
Right.
You're like, oh God, I'm drinking that.
Oh Yeah.
And then you taste a real wine beside it, and like, oh man, didn't know. And that's it for me. As far as me at the store, I'm going to continue to take people on that journey as long as they want to go. And again, I'll do shows. I've done wine tasting in people's homes. I've done anniversaries, things like that. Privately, I'm for hire.
He's for hire privately to educate.
But in the store, I'll continue to do the same thing. Like I said, the tasting we had. And again, forgive me for throwing names out here. That's a private show. But, okay, if you watch television, this On the Rocks cocktail, you've seen the commercials. I think it's got a weasel or a raccoon or something, and people are doing something. They say, hey, take the guesswork out of your cocktail. It's a cocktail in the glass. I sell droves of it. Don't get me wrong. I sell droves of it. But there's another one that came out called Hugh Blind. It's $1 cheaper. Does the same thing, but they use more quality products in it. When I tried it, I'm like, oh, my God. It's like night and day. Why am I drinking On the Rocks? So my first tasting was what? We're going to do these Hugh Blind cocktails. And all these people that's drinking this On the Rocks, because Hugh Blind doesn't have a commercial now.
Right.
But if you watch any sports TV or anything, you'll see these On the Rocks cocktails out there. And, people drinking, thinking they really drinking stuff. I was turning people on to this, and they was like, oh, really? I said, yeah, you see how much, I don't know what's in On the Rocks, and no shame on the company.
Right.
I don't know what's in them, but once I tried Hugh Blind, I was like, oh, God, that's a margarita. That's a Cosmo. That's a Manhattan. They nailed it. And it's $1 cheaper. And it ain't a crazy attractive bottle. It ain't on commercial. But
it's not all in the packaging. It's really all about the taste.
All about the taste. Get out of the packaging, get in the taste. So again, I'll continue to do that as long as people lend me an ear and some time.
So Rick, we have probably about 3 minutes left,
Okay.
and I want to make sure that people know where your store's located, and then I'm going to tell them to make sure that they follow R&R. It's double R, but on your social, R&R Wine, Spirits, and More, and IG, Double Wines, Spirits, and More, to make sure that they follow you. Because what Rick's been doing on his social is he'll tell you about some of the products that he has in his store. So, you'll get education on his social media too. But Rick, tell them where your store is located and why they should come visit you.
All right. We're at 3481 Austin P. Highway on the corner of Austin P. and Yale. We're right across the street from the library and the water feature that they built where the mall was. It means a lot to me. 3481 Austin Street, Suite 4. Hours are Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays, we're open 10 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Sundays, 11 to 7.
So stop by. Rick may be there. If Rick's not there, somebody's there to help you. But and follow the store on his social media platforms, because you'll then know when there's some events going on, and you're going to want to come and attend one of these events so you can learn more. It's all about
always
education.
A good time.
It's all
so
about
it's
education.
an education. I put nothing on social media that I don't believe in.
Right.
It's not about money for me. It's about letting people know what's going on.
And let me just say, he went back to his neighborhood where he grew up. I think that says something, because he wanted them, the folks who live in that area, to have a quality experience. So, Rick Farwell, thank you so much for being on Dialogue with Deidre. I appreciate it so much. You have a beautiful store, and we live in Midtown, but we go to Raleigh when we need something. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for watching Dialogue with Deidre. Again, I'm your host, Deidre Malone. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and I think we have an Instagram, maybe. I don't know. And we do a little Twitter every now and then, right? Yeah, I do it. So anyway, so take care, and we'll see you next week.